In this video, we compile two narratives and set questions that are not yet answered clearly about the Ajok Vicky case. If we move beyond just the 10 major themes and break everything down into detailed sub-questions and procedural gaps, there are 32 distinct clarification points that authorities would need to address to eliminate ambiguity. My compilation shows two strong but partially overlapping narratives, one from Uganda's Foreign Affairs Ministry, Henry Okello, and the other from Syrian Ambassador Tamo Mustafa. What activists, human rights defenders, migrant worker groups, and legal observers are now demanding is clarity, structure, and accountability beyond reassurance statements. What's coming is an exhaustive breakdown of what remains unclear and what civil society expects from authorities. One, clarity on the exact legal status of Ajok Vicky. What is missing? Is she formally charged? If yes, under what specific article of Syrian law? Has she been indicted or is she still under investigation? Has a trial date been set? Is she being held in pre-trial detention? Does she have legal representation? Is the lawyer state appointed or privately hired? What activists expect? Written confirmation of charges, access to court documentation, timeline of proceedings, transparency on whether capital punishment is legally applicable in this specific charge. Two, confession. Did she or didn't she? This is one of the biggest contradictions. The Ugandan minister says we don't believe allegation that she confessed. The ambassador states that that's what happened and that's what she confessed herself. What is unclear? Did she sign a written confession? Was it recorded? Was interpretation present? Was it voluntary? What activists expect? Clarification on whether the confession exists. Proof that it was not coerced. Confirmation she had translation assistance. Independent verification of interrogation procedures. Consular access and monitoring. That's the third one. Uganda does not have an embassy in Damascus. What is missing? Has a Ugandan diplomat physically visited her? How frequently is consular access granted? Is Uganda monitoring prison conditions? What activists expect? Regular consular visitation schedule? Welfare reports made public? Assurance she is not being mistreated? Independent monitoring of detention conditions. Four, legal representation and fair trial guarantees. The ambassador says Syrian law is transparent, but activists want name and qualifications of a lawyer, whether Uganda is funding legal defense, confirmation of independent legal counsel, access to evidence being presented in court, confirmation of translation services in court. Without this, due process remains a diplomatic phrase, not verified justice. Five, risk of capital punishment. The ambassador admits, yes, the punishment for killing is to be killed, but not immediately. That alone sustains public anxiety. What is missing is the prosecution seeking death penalty. Is the charge first-degree murder? Are mitigating circumstances officially recognized? what activists expect. Written assurance from Syria that execution is not being pursued. Formal diplomatic request opposing capital punishment. Yes, clarification whether clemency discussions are premature. Six, mental health and language barrier issue. The ambassador narrates a miscommunication involving the word poison. What is unclear was a psychological evaluation conducted. Did she misunderstand due to illness or panic? Was there forensic evidence supporting intentional killing? What activists expect? Independent psychiatric assessment. Medical records disclosure. Clarification of cause of death, natural causes versus homicide evidence. Yes. Autopsy transparency. Yes. Seven, bilateral labor protection failures. The case exposes structural issues. Recruitment overnight. Mark that one, recruitment overnight. Worker safety abroad. Pre-departure language training. Legal protection agreements. What activists demand? Review of Uganda-Syria labor framework. Bilateral agreement for migrant worker protections. Insurance and emergency legal fund mechanisms. Accountability for recruitment agencies. Yes. Eight, communication transparency. Both governments urge citizens not to spread misinformation, but activists urge information gaps create misinformation. What is missing? Regional official updates. Missing. Joint Uganda-Syria statement. Missing. Clear timeline of next legal steps. Missing. What activists expect? Weekly official briefings. Documented update bulletins. Avoidance of emotional but legally vague statements. Nine, diplomatic versus judicial boundaries. The Ugandan minister seeks clemency and amnesty before verdict. Legal experts question, is this premature? Does it imply expectation of guilt? Does it weaken legal defense narrative of innocence? Activists want clear strategy. Is Uganda arguing innocence or seeking mercy? Legal consistency in diplomatic messaging. That's another thing. 10, the bigger fear, trust deficit. Even though the ambassador denies execution rumors, Syria retains capital punishment. Yes, and Syria's judicial system differs significantly from Uganda's legal framework. This creates fear of opaque procedures, distrust in trial transparency, anxiety about political influence. So, summary of what needs immediate clarity. Formal church details, confirmation or denial of confession, lawyer identity and defense strategy, trial timeline, risk of death penalty status, forensic evidence details, consular visitation proof, psychological and medical evaluation, migrant labor oversight accountability, structured official updates. What activists ultimately want, not emotion, not political reassurance, not diplomatic optimism. They want legal transparency, written procedural guarantees, human rights compliance, concrete protection mechanisms for migrant workers, zero ambiguity on execution risk. Until those are addressed in documented form, anxiety will persist.